get straight into the business of today, starting with our guest speaker. Her name is Alicia Sudas Ramdari. She is a South African author and an anti-suicide activist. At just 12 years of age, she became an orphan, a tragic loss that claimed the lives of her family in Chatsworth, this is Durban, in 1999, to a murder-suicide. Following her move from Durban to Johannesburg, Alicia now resides in Rustenburg in the Northwest Province with her husband and their two Pekingese in June 2020. She felt strongly about following her passion. There was definitely more to life than a desk job. She took the big leap of faith and resigned from her corporate admin role to pursue the purpose of creating awareness about suicide and mental health, but more importantly, to complete writing her autobiography. Alicia's autobiography, Orphaned by Suicide, that's the title, Life After Losing an Entire Family to a Murder-Suicide, came to life and was self-published in July 2021. Alicia is a warrior that continues to inspire and motivate wherever she goes. When not raising the alarm on suicide and its effect, she enjoys traveling and experiencing exotic places and foods around the world. Her mission in life is to save a life, even if it is just one life at a time. Let me just read that last line one more time. Her mission in life is to save a life, even if it is just one life at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome on stage Alicia to review her own book, Orphaned by Suicide. Over to you, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Sibuniteni, for everything. You are awesome. This is Orphaned by Suicide. So I didn't actually know I was going to become an author. I didn't know I was going to write this book. This book started off as a venting mechanism. And I shared my story with a few colleagues and friends, and they found it inspirational, and they insisted I write a book that could inspire people. And that's where it is now. Orphaned by Suicide is living proof that we can overcome, that we can surface from whatever we may be going through. I speak a lot of mental health awareness and creating suicide awareness. I'm sure most of you are aware of how suicide and mental health, when it comes to anxiety and depression, affects us. So a bit of my background: my dad never showed red flags, and he never consumed alcohol, not the abusive type, but he murdered my mom, my baby brother, my sister, and shot himself thereafter. I was lucky enough not to be there. And I wrote this book in order to create awareness amongst our communities. So this 12-year-old girl in this book is orphaned. She's left alone in this world, not knowing where her next home would be. What would life be without her family? Because that is the only thing that she knew: her mom, her dad, and siblings. After the tragedy, she moved away from her hometown, Durban, Chatsworth, to live in Johannesburg. Straight after beginning grade 8, there was no time for her to mourn. Mourning became an issue amongst family members. She was not physically abused, but more emotionally and mentally, and reprimanded every time she tried to open up. She did try to attempt suicide, but she never had the courage to, so I would say that she went through self-harm. And all she wanted to do was end her life to be with her family. The pain of being left behind and living without her family was immense. As life went on, she takes you, or I take you through my young adulthood of dating and my teenage life, where, I'm not so proud of the certain things that I've done. Living with my maternal grandmother and finding motherly love, which I was lacking. My grandmother played a really important role in my life. And if it wasn't for her, I don't think I would have been here today, neither would this book. She showed me love and gave me the strength that I needed to overcome. The next stage in my life was when I become independent and I start putting myself first. I spent lonely times with myself when I moved out. And I say this because spending time alone with yourself is one of the most scariest things to do. Your mind takes over and it's not a nice place to be in with yourself if you're not in the right mindset. That is where I also decided to make peace and forgive my dad and my mom, finding out the truth of what really happened, uncovering family secrets that were not told to me. I made peace so that I could move on with my life and feel better about myself. Since a child, since I was orphaned, blood relationships became toxic and they constantly blamed me for my parents' death. Nothing of which I had anything to do with, but that was something that I had to live with. It's called survivor's guilt. And I had to stand up to these people. When I got married, I decided that I will be first. I will put myself first. Toxic relationships need to be a thing of the past. And that is why I wrote this book. The purpose is to give hope to those that are struggling mentally, that are considering taking their lives, to the survivors out there, for the victims, for us that have lost loved ones to suicide. The pain that this book carries of being left alone. I really miss my parents and my siblings every single day. And this book does carry a strong message of strength and love, and to let you know as readers that you matter and you are loved. And suicide is not the way to go. And I hope that when you do read this book, that you take something out of it. Even if it's just one lesson from my life and you apply it in yours, I've accomplished a lot. So with that said, I would like to read a paragraph from my book. It is chapter 6. It's called Days to Come. Darkness filled the air, my body, mind, and soul. Was there a need to smile, laugh, sing, and dance again? Days went by. I sat in my own blank mind, wondering what went wrong. How could this be possible? Why now? Nobody could answer my questions. People knew the answers to every question I had. But due to the fact that they knew what went on that day, they kept it to themselves. I had a hard time coming to terms with what had happened, but no one understood what was going on the inside of me. What they saw was their observation, and that's it. I felt many people had forgotten what had happened and soon moved on quite quickly. Everyone deals with grief in their own way, I guess. Being so emotionally affected, the slightest things triggered me to cry, especially when I was shouted at. At night, I would cry myself to sleep. My heart felt like it was ripped open and left to cry out all the blood it pumped to keep me alive. My pillow became my best friend, absorbing all those silent words and tears. I lived in a body that made me walk, talk, smile, and sleep. But the inner me died. I failed to live within me. I failed to keep them alive. I let myself down. I felt I had let my siblings down as well. I couldn't save them. I was taken for counseling. It was done by a social worker. I think I had 2 sessions and it was stopped. It was just me in my world, the lonely me. I dreamt of them every night, and I would wake up to the shock of hearing gunshots that were fired on that day. Or I would see myself walking up the stairs of my house to the bedrooms and seeing my family laying in their frozen positions. I lived to see another day, but would I live further? No, I needed my family. I needed to be with them. This voice inside of me just kept telling me to go ahead and commit suicide. Do it. I actually thought of ways in my head to kill myself. I did not build up the courage to do so. Thank you.
I know we have discussed before, even in our Toastmasters meeting, you are our guest speaker, and then I don't want to repeat the same thing I've said after your keynote speech and your review of your book, of course. And maybe for our book club audience here, what would you say maybe is just one take-home message for someone who is currently experiencing mental health challenges?
What I'd like to say is, if you're struggling and if you're going through something, go and seek a professional, get counseling, get that help. I know many of us have friends that we can confide in. That is fine. Confide in somebody. And also, if someone does come to you with such problems, just be a listener. Listen without judgment. Do not pass judgment. Sometimes we are in such a dark space that the slightest or smallest words we say might just push them over. So if you know of someone that needs help, talk to them, assist them in getting the professional help that they need. We need to start educating our people and creating awareness in our communities that it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to talk about the things we aren't supposed to speak of. We need to do that. A lesson learned from my dad, he never spoke about what was going on with him. And I'm sure if he had opened up to the correct people, help would have been readily available and those 4 lives would have been here today.
Well, thank you, Alicia, for sharing your story with us. We truly appreciate it. And I'm sure your message of hope, which is basically the purpose of your book, as you are saying, the purpose of your book is to give hope to those who are struggling with mental health challenges. And I can see as you speak with passion, conviction, just like the anti-suicide activist you are. We believe in you, and thank you so much for sharing your message with us. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to open the floor for anyone in the audience who might have maybe a quick question for Alicia.
Everyone, and good evening, Alicia. I just want to congratulate you on your book, and you are such a brave girl. And my question to you is, like you're saying, you went for counseling with a social worker, but you only had 2 sessions, and you wanted to commit suicide, but you were scared. So what made you get through it every single day? What made you look forward to another day? What kept you going? Thanks.
Thank you, Freda. What kept me going was my school friends. I enjoyed every single day with them. They took away that sorrow and pain that I felt. And like I said just now, is you find people that you can confide in and trust in. And those were my to-go-to people. Although the thoughts would creep into my mind whenever I was at home that I should take my life, but I would think of my grandparents. Would they be able to manage another death in the family? I mean, they've just lost a daughter, grandchildren, a son-in-law. It would be too much. And I would always, push that thought at the back of my head, wake up the next day, put a smile on my face, go to school, have a blast, come home and deal with what I was going through at night. I know most of it has come from prayer, my strength. I turned to prayer. I did give up on prayer many times. I did shout and swear at God for leaving me behind. But above all, that strength, and I think the fighting spirit in me kept me going for another day.
Fighting spirit, prayer kept you going. Thank you, Alicia. Do we have a question from anyone again?
Hi, Sivo.
Hi, Wendy. Yes.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know how to lift up my hand. Yes, Alicia, I also just want to say congratulations on your book, and I echo Frida's words. Definitely, you're a brave girl, and it's so inspiring to see a story like yours, with such a positive ending. Your story is inspiring, and I really wish all the best going forward, in terms of the book and everything that you are doing. My question is just quickly on your writing process. How did you go about writing the book? Because you said, you never thought you'd be an author or you would write a book. So what was that process like for you? And how did you go about doing it? Did you get help? Or did you just put your thoughts together? So if you can just share that process with us, Alicia. Thank you.
Hi, Wendy. Thank you so much for your warm words. Okay, the writing process, I just wrote. I did not know how to compile anything. I just wrote whenever I felt emotional, whenever I felt the need to vent, I wrote down. I tried to do my homework and sourcing out how is an autobiography written. I thought there were actually X amount of pages until I joined a masterclass with my publisher, Inspired Publishing, and they assisted me a great deal in guiding me and telling me that you don't really have to have a set amount of pages. You write until you feel your book is complete. And that is how I managed to get Orphaned by Suicide done within that 6 months. And the writing process for this, I promise you, it was daunting. I had to go back into these files that I archived in my brain. There were things that I shut out completely. And while writing this book, I had to go back and open these files, and it created a whole new sensation. I did slip into depression. I did have sleepless nights. And whenever it became overwhelming, I would have to take a break and, just close the laptop, take a break. It could be days or weeks, sometimes months. And when I'm ready to start writing again, I will. The thing for me that sunk in was realization that, I did go through this. I experienced this, and sometimes I don't have the answers for, like, how did you just get through this? And I still sit back whenever I read my book. I'm actually inspired reading my own book that I've come so far. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Alicia. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Wendy.
All right. Thank you, Wendy, for your question. And also thanks to you, Frida, for the question you've asked earlier. We'll now move on to the book of the month with the reviews. And I have one person who was prepared to do the review for this book, and her name is Anna Mvugu. Let me allow Anna Mvugu to take the stage and do her review of the book. Anna, you can come on stage, and if you don't mind, you can show your video and take it away. We're going to give you 5 minutes, and then afterwards we'll ask a question or two. Then we'll move to the casual reviews. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sibo. And I would like to take this moment to greet everybody on this call, on this meeting. I do mind to put on a video. My apologies. So I'm going to be, you'll hear my voice for today only for some personal reasons. Apologies for that. Can I confirm if you can hear me?
Yes, ma'am, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to give my review for the 5 a.m. On Your Morning, Elevate Your Life book by Robin Sharma. I heard about this book for a very long time from a friend of mine. And with the persistence of hearing about it often, I had to get it myself and read through just to get the ideas of what my friend was sharing with me. So I found this book as a great book with different ideas to help someone to become a successful person. And I regarded the 5 a.m. club book as a tool that encourages us to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning. I got encouragement to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, and also to build a morning routine for myself and for self-improvement in order to become successful. I'm quoting this because I read it from the book. There are some lessons and advantages of waking up at 5 a.m. and Robin Sharma is explaining to us. There's a background, like Dr. Sibo was explaining, there's a background where this whole advice come from. And the other thing is that within the book, we realized that there's a simple practice for everybody. If you want to be successful, the mentality that we get or the advice that we get is to have a simple practice of waking up at 5 a.m. There are also different things that he advises in terms of what you can do with that power hour. Actually, power hour is between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. The other thing is that what is also mentioned in the book is that 5 a.m. provide an improved mental state or a brain state. And some of the advantages of waking up at 5 a.m. or being a 5 a.m. club member is that because during the day, there are a lot of mental energy that is required from us as human beings because of the conflicting resources that are required or demanding our attention. There would be news, there would be so many things that you need to deal with. So when you wake up at 5 a.m., you temporarily shut down the fears and the worries of the day. And there's a quote that I read from the book. It says, the brain prefrontal cortex, which is the part that makes one to get worried and analyze things, is temporarily shut down at 5 a.m. And therefore, I close the quote, therefore, if you wake up at 5 a.m., you'll feel energized and you'll be at peace. Even if you don't like waking up in the morning, when you try it, because your brain is not worried at that time, you will start enjoying it. There's another part where it was saying it was a conversation, and one of the person asked whether should I do it during the week and sleep on weekend, and the advice was that rather you be consistent, because when you are consistent, it's easy for you to make this a habit. And the other thing is that when we wake up at 5 a.m., it maximizes our focus. There's another part where he talks about history makers, and that made me very interested, and explaining that history makers are the people that set records, that break boundaries, and that make successful contributions. And I think most of us, particularly in this group, we are history makers. And in that regard, the encouragement is that we need to free ourselves from distraction by eliminating multitasking, by mental declutter, by turning off notification for some time, and also canceling activities that do not add value to us as you are working towards being a history maker. So those are some of the things that you can do in order to capitalize on your talent. And one of the things that you also mentioned, and that took my attention, was it stood out for me actually when he was talking about you working on your talent and not comparing yourself with other people, not competing with other people, but competing with yourself. There's another one that is very much also stood out for me. It's a practicing self-mastery. And I think practicing self-mastery, it's an in-thing currency for the people that really want to be history makers. So he spoke about the investing 2 hours at least every morning, working deeply on yourself, and particularly paying attention to the mindset, your heart set, your soul set, and health set. And in closure, there was a rule of 20-20-20, which is the first 20 minutes to do your movement, the second 20 minutes to do your reflection, the other 20 minutes to learn. That's 1 hour, 5 to 6 a.m. And with this, I would like to thank you so much, Dr. Sibo, for the time given.
You are welcome, Anna, and thank you so much for that review. I like the fact that towards the end, you mentioned the 4 interior empires: the heart set, the soul set, the health set, and the mindset. Thank you so much for that review. Just a quick one from me before I allowed the members to ask you questions. How difficult was it for you to start this habit of waking up at 5 a.m.? And can you maybe confirm with us if you are a member of the 5 a.m. club?
I am a member of the 5 a.m. club, but to be honest with you, it has been very difficult. I'm a late night person, so I would work most probably until 3 a.m. So for me to be able to wake up at 5 a.m., so you would be sleeping about 2 hours, so it was a bit difficult. Then I had to change my routine and try to test if this is working. I tried it, it works a lot. There are a lot of great ideas that I got in the morning when I do my walking or my running in the early hours of the morning from the 5 a.m. So I'm a member of the club, it is working. Thank you.
Okay, nice. Oh, I see Anna Costa. You can go ahead, ma'am, and share with us. Over to you.
Good evening, everyone. My hand actually came up rather belated to ask Anna something, but I will pose the question at the end of what I have to say. I must say I have not completely finished reading this book. That's a confession I have to make. So you've given me a good spoiler, but I'm glad that the two do marry in the end. I'm kind of a member of the 5 a.m. I have been doing it for a while before I read the book, but rather mindlessly. So what I have learned is that the intention behind the 5 a.m. is crucial for it to be a success. So although I'm out of the country at the moment, it's freezing cold where I am, I have not really been able to get up at 5 a.m. as yet, but I have implemented a few changes. And since reading this book, I have to say I have reduced my intake of food. I have resumed my intermittent fasting where I can, and I have cut down on tech, My time on technology was insufferable. I have to admit there, it was not good. So that's made me very mindful. And I'm very pleased about that. Also, what Anna touched on, where if you do it part-time, your success is going to be partial. It's not going to be 100%. So you have to apply yourself. And things do not happen overnight. As the part that I'm reading stresses that a habit is a 66, I think, day procedure. So you have to implement it over that time period. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight. And for it to be integrated and to become a habit and to become a ritual and to become a full-time aspect of your life. So I'm very thrilled to have read this book. And what I'd like to hear from Anna is what changes has she succinctly been doing to her life and her routine since reading this book? Thank you very much.
You are welcome, Anna. I guess you can also take over, Anna, to answer Anna's question.
Okay. In terms of what I have changed is the exercise part. I was not really consistent with exercising. So now that I have the 2020 rules, sometimes I even exceed that. Sometimes I either wake up at 4:30 a.m. and join the club at 5 a.m. because there's a time that I also wanted to have more time with reading. So 4:30 to 5, then I'll do the reading. Then from 5, I joined the club. So one of the things that I was not doing before I joined the club was the exercise. So now it has helped me. The other thing that I was not doing was meditation, which is very important, in journaling. I was not doing that. So it has helped me with gratitude, having to have a gratitude journal, also to help me to reflect and meditate, particularly meditating about what I have read. That has helped how I think and has helped my mind, how my mind operates, particularly during the day. So maybe I can just as well take this moment to say whatever I was struggling with during the day changed because of this morning routine. Thank you.
Great to hear, Anna. And I could tell you are really implementing the lessons you have learned in the book. So well done for doing that. One of the things that was also a game changer for me is, okay, I see Anna Mvubu's hand is up. Okay, Anna, you can go ahead.
Okay, Sibo, there's also one thing that he also mentioned, that it's not a problem for you to take a nap during the day. There's a reward for you. So because I started struggling actually because initially I used to wake up whenever time, whether 8 or 9 or whatever time. But then ever since I joined the 5 a.m. club, then I was struggling during the day sometimes. So he mentioned that you can do that. You can buy yourself the chocolate, or you can take a nap during the day as a reward to you. So I also wanted to mention that. Thanks.
Oh, wonderful. And also towards the end of the book, as you were sharing earlier, rest and recovery is highly recommended in this book, because apparently, especially when you exercise, your muscles, if you're someone who wakes up to lift weights, the growth in your muscle, it happens during recovery. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to pick people that I know in the audience that they are working out, and maybe not necessarily from what they've gained from the book, but they are more than welcome to share their thoughts on the book. So I'll start with Henry. I know he's a marathon runner, and he's someone who loves jogging as well. Sorry, sir, to put you on the spotlight, but I just want to hear from you. How did you start the habit of jogging, and maybe when is the best time for you to do it? Are you doing it in the morning or in the evening? Henry Fowane.
Good evening, colleagues. Thanks, Dr. Sibo. Yeah, I think, look, it's a bit of a challenge. In the mornings, it's actually the best time to do it. When I was still staying in Lephalale, I had the opportunity, to be able to run. I think, it sets off your day to be such an excellent day if you start running in the morning. But yeah, with my work challenges at the moment, I currently run in the afternoons, but yeah, I think it's basically that's it.
So thank you, sir, for sharing. And maybe one more person before we close off, I want to put in the spotlight that I know is working out. Tsepiso Maja, Madam AD, do you mind unmuting and maybe share your thoughts if you have read the book, or maybe the benefits of exercising from your own experience, if you are okay with that?
Thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Sibo. Good evening, good visionary readers. For me, I'm going to start with the book, how the book has impacted my life. Yes, I've read the book and I loved the book. And what I liked about the book is all the things that Anna has mentioned and what you, Dr. Sibo, has mentioned about the techniques or the habits rather that I mentioned in the book, is that even when you fall off the wagon, they stay and stick with you. I remember in December when I was not waking up at 5 a.m. because life got busier and I slept in. But in January, I remembered how much those habits helped me to be more productive, to be more efficient, and to feel more alive. And when it comes to exercising, I am an early morning person. I find myself, even when I am unable to go to the gym, I jog. Even if it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I never thought that I would settle for such a short time for me to exercise. But the mere fact that I know the benefits of that physical activity, physically and mentally, I do not compromise. Whenever I can in the morning, I start off my day with a workout. Thank you, Dr. Sibo.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Tsepi. There's just so many things that I can recall from the book. One quote says, "Dream big, start small, begin now." That was a game changer for me, because I think sometimes we want to start to see these results from the get-go. So we see as if like that 20 minutes pocket is just too small. I just want to start maybe with 10 kilometers marathon and run for an hour. But while actually when you want to build a habit, if you remember from the book called Atomic Habits, you basically want to start small. Maybe if you want to finish a 60 kilometers marathon, you start by 1 kilometer a day. Then maybe build next day, you aim for 2, maybe for the whole week, you try 3 kilometers. Then as long as you stay consistent, which is what is being advocated in the book, over time, maybe after 22 days, then you would have destroyed all the bad habits you were doing in the past during that, maybe if you exercise in the early first thing in the morning, during that period. So this book really is a game changer. There's so many techniques, so many methods. And now as I'm thinking also, as I was mentioning earlier about the importance of rest and recovery, let's not take it for granted, the importance of sleeping. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stop the meeting right here and wish you all a wonderful evening.